This is Amanda from Albany Mountain Homestead, and today I wanted to take you for a walk around my garden. Um, I'm experimenting quite a bit this year with interplanting because I have about 10, I have 12 16-foot beds, but I also have like little side gardens where I have planted things in various places just to see how things would go, different methods. I've also, not only is it a slightly raised bed garden, but I'm also like growing in bags. And even though I know it's like not considered acceptable in the organic world to use tires, we have been using, I have some tires for certain plants that just giving it a try. Because in some cases where I'm a beginner gardener. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just giving things a try. And it's also a matter of learning your plant, learning what it looks like, learning how it acts in certain conditions. A garden about 4 years ago, I had planted some watermelons and some cantaloupes together in the ground and just tried to let everything go, but I had tremendous problems with weeds, and one problem in particular was with morning glory. And because I didn't know how to recognize the plants, it ended up being that I pulled out the watermelon and the cantaloupes, and I left the wild morning glory to grow all through the garden. And so I didn't get any product because I didn't know what I needed to look for. And so, as with any kind of new gardening, it for me it helps to grow something in a specific space. Make sure that I document, um, I have a notepad where I'll do diagram of my garden and I document what I'm growing in that particular spot, and then I'm always like taking mental notes. What does this plant look like? How does it grow? How big does it get? Those various things, so that now that I'm in my fourth season of growing, now I'm learning that, I can grow and trellis bean and pea plants, and then in the same garden bed, down at ground level, I can grow spinach, I can grow lettuce, garlic, celery, spinach, and various other types of vegetables that will allow me to get maximum production out of each of my beds. So let me take you around and show you the various beds that I have and what I'm growing, all right? Let's go. Garden. I am in my fourth year and still learning. And some of the things that we're doing this year that I am really excited about is using the mulch around our garden beds, because the weeds are horrendous and I don't have time to be fussing with that, but also the sheer labor. My body just cannot physically keep up with trying to keep everything weeded down and nice. So let's get started. First, here I have lavender, then I have some yarrow, and then I have some walking onions, which are dying back now. So now we're at the entrance of my garden, where I have a hoop trellis, and I'm hoping the little grapes that I have planted might be able to take off, but the Japanese beetles have been awful, so I'm not sure how this is gonna pan out in the future. And the next thing I'd like to point out here is the squash vines that I have growing here. Those are actually volunteer. We had this chicken tractor, which we had ducks in, moving around, and apparently I gave them some squash seed, and apparently they weren't eaten. Instead, they got buried and decided to grow. Another thing I'm doing this year also is a lot of interplanting, and I'm trying to get like maximum use out of my garden beds. So right here I have my one and only cabbage to survive this spring, and ironically I have no bug issues on that one, even though I have some Brussels sprout plants planted elsewhere and they're being taken over by bugs. But let's start here with, we have some pepper plants, and also I have planted near here in the same bed some basil. I have 1, 2, 3 basil. Just beyond that toward the trellis, I have red noodle beans and some Lincoln peas. Lincoln peas are supposed to grow better in the summer, but we shall see. And then on the other side of the trellis, I have a lettuce mix growing in there. Again, cabbage. It's getting closer to being harvest time for that. And I'm hoping I'll be able to get a little head of cabbage out of that before some kind of bug takes it over. And then we have here another kind of bean called Trail of Tears. And in that I have some more Lincoln peas, which are a bush variety, so those will continue to grow. And due to having a couple days worth of heavy rain, a lot of the lettuce that I planted here has been knocked down pretty bad, but I think it'll recover. And then on the other side of the bed here, I have some purple kohlrabi and plenty of weeds to pull. And again, being a beginning gardener, I don't know everything. And so these are planted a bit late. I have no idea how they are going to do, but we shall see. And if they end up being too hot and die back, I will probably plant some more like red noodle beans or the Trail of Tears, just so that I could get something else going before fall and winter come. Now in this part of the bed here, I just planted some flower seeds. I've got like borage down here, helichrysum, and then I'm not sure what I have here yet. I got to look back at my notebook. But there's, very little sprouting. But I think with all this rain, a good number of them will start to come up now. And now in this next bed, I have some celery growing, and this is the pink celery from Baker Creek. And I just broadcast the seed and let them grow and do their thing. And these are now probably 2.5 to 3 months old. And then the rest of this bed was lettuce and spinach and bunching onions, which I'm about to tear all of this out and getting ready to start fall plants, more of the broccoli, cauliflower, and Brussels sprouts in this bed to possibly overwinter. And then, as you can see, I've had help in getting as much of the garden mulched as possible, again to keep the weeds down, because I can't, especially the crabgrass that grows in beyond the fence, I just can't keep fighting that. So right here we have another squash. I do not remember the variety. It's either a butternut or a spaghetti. I can't remember which one. Now here in this next bed, I have garlic that's planted around the whole bed. And then I also have, I believe these are Thai noodle green beans. And one plant I had started, and I had like 2 or 3 others. They didn't really take off, but this one went crazy, and most of this vine is all from this one plant. Now, a few weeks ago, I planted 4 more of the, I think it's a red noodle or a Thai bean, I'm not sure, I can't remember. But they're taking off now as well, and they're going to start producing some beans very soon here. Here's our Thai noodle, I believe. No, not a noodle, but it's a Thai bean. And this is a purple streaked variety. It's really fun to grow and cook because the purple will quickly fade out of them. So if you have young children, these are really fun to cook because the kids can then see the color change. And again, a lot of weeding to do, but I did plant a little bit more celery in here too, and it might be taking off. And I also have some leeks growing in here in between the garlics, so we'll see if those will take off. I'll have to update you. And then right here, I have some acorn squash growing next to the fence, and also a white cucumber right there. And then I have some purple tomatillo, and this is a 32-foot bed that we're growing tomatoes in this year. And again, with the interplanting, I also have some zinnias growing right at the corner there, and they are just tall enough that they're able to get the sunlight they need in order to keep growing. And that's a dwarf zinnia. And in here I have various varieties of tomato, but also I planted a lot of sweet basil. I have a German green tomato. I have some Rutger or Arkansas Traveler, I can't remember which one. And more basil. And then I think I have another one called the Belgium Giant, which is supposed to produce a very big, meaty beefsteak type tomato. And something I planted last year that's coming back everywhere this year is Chinese spinach. And I think this variety of tomato is called Millions of Tomatoes, and they're putting off these nice clusters of tomatoes. I apologize for the dog. This is the 3rd row of my garden, main garden, and in here I have 4 sweet pepper plants, another basil. On that outer edge over there, I have some lettuce. It's called a speckled lettuce that I got from Baker Creek. And then I have here 4 more dragon's tongue beans, which I have some further up in my garden. These were actually planted a little bit later than the other ones, but they're now taking off and producing. So if you're looking for a succession planting that might be a good idea. And then here I have some zucchini, and I think I have a vine borer that's going to take this one out. So I may have to remove this one altogether. I have three more zucchini. So there's one, here's another one, then here's a smaller one. And then right here I have another squash. Again, it's either spaghetti or butternut, I can't remember which variety. But just on the other side of the fence we have some more volunteers that we'll find out what they are here in the future. And these are our rabbit tractors that we move around on the property so the bunnies have access to some fresh greens. Now here is another medicinal plant, and this is mullein, and I got seed for it. And again, I plant things where I know that I can remember where, label, and it helps me to learn and identify the plant. So I will probably relocate all of these out of the garden in the future, but for now I keep them and I just pull the leaves to help with fertilizing your garden. I pull because they send down a taproot similar to comfrey, and also another one plant that I discovered and I love is called curly dock. And all three of these send down very long taproots, and they're drawing up minerals and other nutrients that plants need. So it's a chop and drop beneficial plant to have in your garden. Or you could plant it somewhere else and harvest your leaves and bring them back into your garden. Now here I have a big bunch of dead peas, and it's dying back. But here's the reason it's still there and I haven't ripped it down. Peas are supposed to have a lot of nitrogen in them, so as this breaks down, it's going to go back and feed the soil. But also, I have a lot of Japanese beetles this year, and I would rather let them eat this than to go and eat my beans, because they've been all over many of my plants. They've been on my beans, my peas, my cherry tree, blueberry bushes. The Japanese beetles have just been awful this year. And so right here, planted right next to the peas, is pak choi, whichever you want to call it. And then we have some herbs, rosemary, basil, and sage. And sage is something, and there's a zucchini I harvested earlier. So here are my sweet potato slips, and now we are in the 7th garden bed. And our family loves garlic, so we use a lot of it, so I planted as much as I possibly could. So we have yet another garden bed that is totally surrounded with garlic. And in here I planted some carrot seed. They're just starting to sprout, so this isn't looking too... I got some weeds to pull. And then here is one bed of sweet potatoes that I've already started. And then we're going to move over to the next bed, which is more tomatoes. So right next to where I have my sweet potatoes planted, in the very next bed, I have a tomatoes. The variety is called fried green. It may be similar to the a variety that I also planted, which is a German green. And it only means that the tomatoes will stay green longer, so that if you like fried green tomatoes, then you can make those. And hello, sunshine. And over here we have some more herbs. We've got a dwarf sunflower, but we have rosemary there and a sage right here. And I have also some basil planted in with it. And I'm just now starting to have some issues with whitefly, which I will be spraying for here very soon. And then right here is my first tomato of the summer. And the German green, or the fried green, they're similar to a beefsteak, so they've got plenty more growing to do. And then here I have some more tomatillo, black tomatillo growing. And another beneficial thing for your garden is, lizards. They help with bug control. And right under this tarp, right there, we found a nest of lizard eggs. So we'll be excited to see those. And then planted here in a bag on the fence, we have the pickling cucumber. I have 2 of those planted to grow on the fence. And then right here, I have 2 more that are growing on the fence. In the bed next to my tomatoes, we have some chili peppers. And my family especially loves tacos, so I'm hoping that with this many chili peppers, we can get enough of a harvest to produce our own chili powder. And then right here, we planted some Kennebec seed potatoes, and they are just now starting to bloom. So we might be harvesting these here very shortly, but these have been in a good while, and I was surprised that they are still going, because I thought they should have been done within 60 days, and we're past 60 days now, so soon. And then right next to the greenhouse on the other side from the pole beans, we have some more dragon's tongue beans. And then right next to that, I have some Malabar spinach, soon to take off and vine on the greenhouse. And I'm not sure if this is broccoli or something, but I harvest the leaves and cook those. We also have some kale mixed in here. Then here is a Malabar spinach that is really starting to take off. And I just harvest the lower leaves, and some new leaves are growing in behind them. And then inside the greenhouse, I have a spinach bed with some weeds to pull. And then on the other side, I have like a microgreen salad mix going in there. A squash bed. Now this is back at the entrance of the main garden here, and I also have 6 eggplants, and I've got some lemon thyme growing, and I have some more squashes, but I can't remember now if they're spaghetti or butternut. We'll figure it out when they get going. And more interplanting of basil. And now I will take you to show you some of the other spots I have plants growing. We have a pear tree. We have a plum tree growing right here. I got 2 plums this year, but again, the Japanese beetles have tried to continue to take over a lot of plants. Now here I have a cross-pollinated Cherokee Tan Pumpkin growing. These are seed that I saved from my Cherokee Tans that I grew a couple years ago, but they were cross-pollinated, so I have no idea what I'm going to end up, but I have a couple plants over here. I have 3 in here, and then I have a couple more over here trying to take off. And now we'll go up here to the next garden bed. So this is the back end of my garden, the main garden. This is the greenhouse. And right here in this garden, we're growing some white kohlrabi. And then I have more volunteer Chinese spinach growing. And some kales, but I also have some Brussels sprouts. The bugs are trying to take these, but I'm trying my best not to let them. Then I have some Swiss chard. This is just a rainbow variety, and again, I'll just pick off what leaves are the biggest. The bad ones I'll feed to the chickens, and we've had a lot of heavy rain the last couple days, so it's kind of shredded some of the leaves pretty bad. And then right here I have a few carrots that went to seed, and so I'm allowing those to do their thing so that I can harvest seed from that this fall. I am sprouting another, like, it's kind of a wild type plant called sorrel, red vein sorrel. So we'll see how that goes. I'm wondering if it'll be like better than growing spinach. And then the next bed here, we have a lot of seed started for more of the kohlrabi. We'll see how it goes. A lot of it was beat down by the rain. And then here we just started in a corn patch. And I'm thinking I'm going to plant some more beans and squashes in that bed. And this one just had some spinach in it. Again, the rain beat them down pretty hard, so we'll see if it recovers. And right next to that we have our Calendula Flowers, and I'm picking blooms every single day. We also have a few strawberry plants in this area. And guess what? That's not it. We have more. Just beyond this new corn bed, we have some more potatoes growing. They haven't started dying back, so we're letting that go some more. And then up here in our what I consider our fruit orchard, in the front bed here I have asparagus growing, along with quite a few weeds that need to be taken out. And we have comfrey, which I had a couple of comfrey plants by my cherry tree too. And just this year we got a fig, and it's finally starting to put on new growth. So I think this fig is going to be okay, and maybe we'll get a little bit of fruit off of it this year. And then just beyond that, we have 4 blueberry bushes. We've got one right here, this one here, and then we have 2 more. Now, in the future though, on this little brick, not sure what you're going to call it, a brick wall? Terrace, there we go. We're trying to terrace this area. And so each of the holes, I'm thinking I'm going to plant the strawberry plants in so that it will keep the fruit off the ground, and then I can plant stuff around it and not have to worry about the fruit going bad. But I have lots of runners. I'm coming off of these strawberries this year, so I'm very excited this fall to be moving those and see how they do next year. And then we have more strawberries right here. And that's the last blueberry. Now I've mentioned before, again, about planting things in tires. I know it's not the most ideal. This here is a canna lily, and I planted in there some dahlia seed, so we'll see if that takes off. And then in this tire here, we have some Icebox Watermelons taking off. I want to say thank you for going on a garden tour with me. I appreciate you taking the time to look at what we're growing and the things we're doing. And, you know, if you are just beginning your gardening adventure, just realize that you can expect failure, but you learn, and you never lose because of the knowledge you're gaining from doing. And it doesn't matter the amount of books you read, it doesn't matter how many videos you watch. You know, you can try to create the most perfect scenario and throw as much money as you want into a garden, and you can still come up with failure. So just for our family and my philosophy in gardening, it's more like, if I have to spend more to grow it, then I might as well buy it from the store. And I know that that's true for a lot of other families, and that's why, like, I have gotten a hold of farmers and, you know, just put a message on Facebook Marketplace, you know, looking for free compost. Or we found a place about an hour from here that I can go and get mulch anytime I want, no matter how much I want to get, as long as we load it ourselves. So if you can manage to gain those resources, and, you know, free dirt even. Look on Facebook. I have found free dirt, and we've gone, our family, working together, you know, we take 5-gallon buckets, take a shovel, fill them up, dump them on a trailer, bring it home, and do this, you know, unload it by wheelbarrow or by the bucket, however we have to do it. But, you know, we've gotten this far because we continue to keep adding to what we're doing. And, you know, our garden this year is now, for the first time, producing more than it has in previous years. And that's because as you're adding those resources and the soil, the compost, the mulch and things, you're building your soil every year, and it's gaining what it needs to supply your plants. We also have rabbits for their compost. And again, growing certain plants so that you can get those minerals and nutrients that you couldn't otherwise get through the comfrey plants and through the mullein and the curly dock, which I didn't show you. I have another video about curly dock if you want to see it there. But this didn't happen overnight, and every year is getting better, and we're producing more and we're learning more. And all I can say is the only way for you to get started is just to start in the most feasible way you can. And if it's a low budget to no budget, you know, I have taken garden soil, dug a hole in the ground, I put my plant in the hole, and I put the garden soil in that hole so that I don't have to use the whole bag in order to plant one plant. or just 2 plants in a small area. Instead, I just use what I need in that one little hole, and I can get 5 or 6 plants planted instead of just 2. So there's various ways to go about gardening, and if you want to give it a try and you have any questions, feel free to ask, but also feel free to share. Share what you know, because we can all learn something from each other.